I said that so long as I held this office, never again would Native Americans be forgotten or ignored.
There's people that live out here that have no electricity, no indoor plumbing, and that live in shacks. And they're the isolated people out in the country, and those are the people we try to reach too.
But 1 year later, little has changed on the Mattaponi Indian Reservation in Virginia. Like the majority of America's indigenous population, the Mattaponi have been tucked away to the confines of an Indian reservation. In the shadows of their ceremonial ground, the Mattaponi people have lived on this land for centuries. And what was once theirs, meaning 350,000 acres of land, has now been reduced to just over 100 acres. And the people here do what they can, the best they can, to sustain themselves, their land, and their cultural identity. Native Americans rank the highest in unemployment and poverty rates, infant mortality and life expectancy rates. Indian reservations in the Midwest are plagued by alcoholism, domestic violence, and teen suicide, contributing to an epidemic of hopelessness within America's indigenous population, and a disillusionment with both the federal and tribal leadership. It's where ordinary people like Sharon Eagleson, founder of the NGO Spirit Rising, step in. Helping indigenous people with their homes, food, and setting up their businesses.
We do it grassroots. We do it more with humanity.
At times, the prejudice towards natives is reflected in what's donated to them.
Sometimes we've been given old meat, yet people gave us new Bibles along with the old meat.
Like many natives on the reservation, Robert Gockenbacher, a U.S. veteran, has been receiving help from Spirit Rising. His roof has caved in, and he hasn't had running water for over a year. Asked whether he receives help from the federal or tribal government.
No, it's pretty much you're on your own here.
Off camera, Robert was much more political. The last time American Indians were radicalized through their political activism, over 60 natives were mysteriously murdered. Leonard Peltier was sentenced to 2 life terms in prison for a crime many insist he did not commit.
We want Obama to know that we're not going away.
These people are rallying for his freedom outside the tribal conference. This native man talks about life on the reservation.
Reservations are essentially prison camps. That's how they started, and that's how they remain, to keep people secluded away from the mainstream. We're forgotten, out of sight, out of mind.
So we're making progress. We're moving forward. And what I hope is that we are seeing a turning point in the relationship between our nations.
A relationship shattered by broken treaties and empty promises for the country's first people. Jahan Hafiz, RT, the Mattaponi Indian Reservation, Virginia.
Many families have only recently got mains electricity and are still without what the rest of America would regard as normal.
To me, life seems a bit tough.
Oh yeah, I just have like cold water.
Extreme poverty drives to the despair here. Pine Ridge has the highest teenage suicide rate in the US, and life expectancy is just 50, the lowest in the Western world apart from Haiti. Poverty leads to alcohol abuse, which leads to other social problems like domestic violence.
Help me out, Justin.
I came across an extraordinary scene of a Lakota family pushing a car with no petrol, but with a TV on the back seat.
Why are we going to the pawn shop?
I'm going to the pawn shop because I want to hawk that TV right there to get us something to eat at a covered wagon in Gordon.
This is a tragedy, Justin.
It ain't a tragedy to me.
It's not a tragedy.
This is everyday life to a Lakota.
Alcoholism, with its roots in the despair of poverty, pervades Pine Ridge.
But I always to kill myself.
Why do you want to kill yourself?
Because of my brother's life.
Because your brother died.
Many Native Americans believe there's a white-led conspiracy to keep them poor and to wipe them out. Community leader Paul Little keeps a treasured painting, ironically called The End of the Trail.
Oh, yeah, there's a conspiracy probably to do that. You look at President Bush and, you know, and all the billions of dollars that he's spending in Iraq when he should take care of our own country.
But there's no firm evidence of a conspiracy, and successive Washington administrations deny it. But no one can deny extreme poverty has reduced the once proud Lakota Sioux, descendants of legends like Sitting Bull, to this. John Cookson, Al Jazeera in South Dakota.
My thing is that the world needs to see what's happening here in America, you know, to its indigenous people. You know, people want to hide this stuff, but it shouldn't be hidden. You know, it should be seen. And you know, just the unethical, you know, way they sell alcohol right on the border, you know, and it's like, and then the sheriff's department's there, and he's not doing anything. All these people are inebriated, they're drunk, but the state of Nebraska and the county of Sheridan doesn't have enough money to deal with this problem where all these people are sitting on the street and drinking, and they're inebriated.
You know, when you're stuck in a concentration camp like the Indian reservations, you see, understand we have no rights on the reservation. None. You can rob my house because you are not an Indian, and we can't do anything to you. We can't put you in jail. Can't do anything to you because we have no rights. If you have no rights, where are you? You're in prison. Very simple.
I gotta get a water. Breakfast burrito. All right, sausage and water. All right.
Hey, let me tell you the history of this place.
Of White Clay?
Yeah.
You want to tell me?
I've been up here for 18 years now.
How old are you?
51 years old.
So you came in your 30s?
I was still a youngster when I came up here. And I've been here ever since. And then I got crippled. Here. But I still stay here because this is the only place I can come, because you know what? Those guys all in the front and everything, that's what you call the real people. Because them guys on the rest, they don't help you with shit. They ignore you. But these guys up here, we help each other. This is the life I'm choosing. Because I ain't got nothing better to do. I ain't got no That's why I've been divorced for 4 times. Because I'm an alcoholic. I've been in treatment 6 times already. And I went to prison. I went to prison for my DUIs. What? Prison was all right. But then that place is a controlled environment. This ain't controlled environment. I can't live by what they call society's rules. I can't live by that. Because I feel I'm my own person. I could live the life that I want to live. Nobody can say nothing to me. Not my family, not the Oglala Sioux tribe. Nobody can say nothing to me. Because I choose the way I want to live. From my perspective, I drink because that way I don't have to face reality.
I blame the federal government for my poverty, for walking down the road and having a hard life. As a cancer survivor, I have had cancer and I believe it's from the water, but yet these people don't even care about our water. We have EPA here. All they worry about is going to work, getting their 8-hour paycheck without even working. That's all they do over here. And while the people out there are suffering, another thing that makes me totally upset is the suicide of our children. Nobody is looking into that, nor do they care. Tribal workers don't even go out to the homes to check out the kids to see how hardship is in their homes. And this is what really makes me mad. Our kids are taking the brunt of this poverty because of no infrastructure, no banks, no way of having a business.
Government's waiver of sovereignty in order to initiate debt. This is not anything new. This is an everyday occurrence in all tribal governments. Problem is leadership. In this case, it is the lack of leadership. Ironically, everyone, including you senators, referred to the allegedly elected tribal officials as leaders. Leaders are supposed to work for a better quality of life for their constituents. It is an insult to my heritage, my ancestors, and my dignity as an Oglala Lakota to have the term used loosely. Many of the tribal officials are honest and sincere men and women who have good hearts. Nevertheless, a vast majority of the tribal officials parasite on the incestuous world of tribal politics. Not as our forefathers, who were the best providers, protectors, defenders, advocators, and friends. The game of who is the most important rules. It's embarrassing. At the turn of the century, American Indians numbered about 230,000, all traditional. With each succeeding generation, we lose our population base and our spirit as once proud peoples. The American Indian statistics of deprivation have remained constant since the end of World War II. All other groups of citizens, fortunes rise and fall with the gross national product, the GNP. The American Indian statistical lines of deprivation remains constant. A straight line. With the blatant genocide of our traditional people, we have less than 50,000 in America today. We are averaging a loss of 1,000 a year since 1900. We are losing a value system as distinct people that sets us apart from the industrialized world. These facts surface in our tribal statistics. And no one attempts to do anything about it except for a few social workers and reservation police. This new statistical horror is women and child abuse. Child sexual abuse is epidemic on Indian reservations, and all you hear are whispers. This abuse can be directly attributable to the schools on the reservations. Education in the BIA, public, the contract, and missionary schools do not teach positive values from non-Indian culture, and in collusion with the BIA, certainly do not allow Indian culture and values to be taught. The fact is, educators continually denigrate American Indian traditional lifestyle as primitive, dirty, and without any redeemable virtues. And the tribal councils condone it. Needless to say, every time the U.S. government has interfered with American Indian lifestyles, it has been proven to be disastrous. In the 1960s, legal services were implemented on Indian reservations. It was a boon for the people. Tribal officials all of a sudden were held accountable. Legal services stepped in, and lo and behold, tribal courts had power to the power of attorney for the people. The result? An edict from Washington, D.C. is handed down, and legal services can no longer represent people against the tribal government, and they can no longer represent class action lawsuits against any government. Presently, legal services are not much more than a mill for divorce lawyer trainees. Congress passed the American Indian Religious Freedom Act in 1978. To date, 6 cases concerning our freedom of religion has reached the Supreme Court. We lost every one of them. We do not win lawsuits. State governments lose. The only time we allegedly win a lawsuit, it is in reality the federal government winning out over the sovereign rights of a state. Once again, the American Indians are the pawn. Now, the major factors presenting American Indian people with existing rights to self-determination. American Indians suffer under a system of dual citizenship, that is, U.S. citizenship and tribal citizenship maintained by the BIA. Only Hitler did that. The dual citizenship is a major obstacle in the free exercise of individual and tribal sovereignty. The continuing loss and attrition of existing lands through various federal, state, and local laws and/or regulations is a hindrance. The abridgment of sovereign rights to remaining lands and the arbitrary monetary policies of settlement of these rights whenever they are recognized. Another major factor preventing Indian people from self-determination, subjugation of the American Indian individual to the laws of government-sponsored tribal governments, and the continuing arbitration of the BIA rules and regulations which have the force of law yet are not repealable. Solutions. The American Indian people's right to self-determination is recognized and will be implemented through the following policies. The American Indian individual shall have the right to choose his or her citizenship, and the American Indian nations have the right to choose their level of citizenship and autonomy up to absolute independence. The American Indian will have their just property rights restored, which include rights of easement, access, hunting, fishing, prayer, and water. The BIA will be abolished, with the American Indian tribal members deciding the extent and nature of their governments, if any. Negotiations will be undertaken to exchange otherwise unclaimed and unowned federal property for any and all government obligations to the American Indian nations, and to hold fully liable those responsible for any and all damages which have resulted from the resource development on or near reservation lands, including damages done by careless and inexcusable disposal of uranium mill tailings and other mineral and toxic wastes. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for inviting me here. It's been a high honor And especially since I'm the only one invited here today to testify that doesn't receive money from the federal government.